I know as a kid, I remember, being terrified of the monsters. Like, oh, that's scary. It's pretty cool. Explosions, terror, good stuff. I finally got a chance to go back and watch the whole series with my brother, and we managed to do it without nostalgia goggles for once, which is something that's different for an old series. And I remember looking back at it and going, it was kind of cheesy even then, but I understand why I was scared and why I enjoyed watching this. I think one episode that stood out, I think Kimberly was in an airplane and her uncle was flying, and he collapses, and I'm like, well, right now this, just looks like stock footage from an airplane, but I can understand, being younger, looking at it, like, it's scary. So it was kind of interesting for me to go back and not criticize, but sort of evaluate the series for a younger audience as an older person, and say, you know what, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
My fiance put the episodes on a couple weeks ago. At first, I thought, why are you putting this on? Like, we watch this movie with kids. But when I was watching it, I slowly started to remember why I liked it so much. Playing it, as a little kid with my cousin, how I would I had a bar so with people that I didn't have any company with it. Because I was obsessed with the show when I was little. It just brought back all these good nostalgic memories, and it just, it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's still good.
When I watched Power Rangers for the second time, it made me realize how much of an influence it actually had on me. Because my best friend, her fiance, loves Power Rangers just as much as me, and I would come over to their house and we would just watch it on Netflix for hours at a time, and she would look at us like we're 20-year-old, 1-year-olds. And just, it hit me really bad one time when I was at work, and I looked up the Tekko website, and I saw that you were going to be there, and everyone just stopped to look at the face that I had on me, and they were like, Kevin, what is wrong with you? Zordon's going to be at Tekko. I need off next week.
I never really completely got out of the series. Like, I tried to stay current with a lot of the seasons, but I didn't really go back and watch some of the old Power Rangers as they were going to be re-airing. And when the announcement came on that they were going to be on Netflix, there was a few people that were following it. Those people that watched, I was on True Life for liking Power Rangers as like a fan of Power Rangers, and so some of those people immediately said, hey, I know you were Drew, they're doing Power Rangers on Netflix, and I was like, oh, that's really cool, I haven't seen that in a long time. So, usually I'm pretty like, okay, we're going to, just kind of rewatch these episodes. I have Netflix, I'll be able to do this, and most of the time I watch stuff on my Xbox for Netflix. When it first went on to the Xbox, they were having problems because they put all the episodes on at the same time. And I became almost like a kid again because I couldn't access the episodes. Like, it was like, they're only showing the first 3 episodes. Like, they're saying this 500's there, but you can only play the pilot. They're not doing anything more. I've seen the pilot 5 times already. Why is it not on anymore? And I kept remembering going back to doing what I was kind of as a younger fan, trying to check forums and doing stuff every day, saying, when are they going to fix this? And seeing that, I kind of went back to the childhood aspect to where I would go downstairs, and I used to remember when I didn't have Fox when I originally watched Power Rangers, so we used to record it when it was on ABC at like 6:30 in the morning. And I would sit down and I would actually record the episode on a VCR, and then I'd watch it later. And the funny thing about that is, I was going through people that I actually, I was with Gemma right now as well. She was going through some of my old tapes of VHS that I have, and she was saying, you have the original airing of Green with Evil Part 2. I'm like, what? And I'm going through, it's like, yeah, you recorded all this stuff, it's amazing. And so getting to see it that way too, as well as on Netflix, kind of like brings back a real childhood aspect of it. And I kind of really realized that even though I continue to watch the show, like with my dad, when I was rewatching it the second time, he was, it kind of stuck with me throughout Power Rangers. He didn't mind that I really continued to like it because I kind of faded out of it since when it wasn't popular. I kind of tried to stay back a little bit when I was in school. It was like, oh, Power Rangers, that's so lame, even though I still liked it. And the first thing I did when Power Rangers was re-aired, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go watch the original ones. And he's like, well, at least it's not the one with the rat. And I was like, yeah, no, these are the really good ones. He's like, yeah, I like the original ones with Jason and all those other people. And I was like, what? You like Power Rangers? He's like, yeah, I watched it with you. I mean, so that kind of has that bonding aspect too. You don't realize originally when you have like your older parents and everything, and then we're growing older now, and we're going to be become parents soon. I mean, I'm turning 30 this year, so it's one of those things where you're looking back like, okay, you're going to start family, they're going to watch Power Rangers because it's continuing, and you're going to have that bonding too. You're going to have those same moments. So I really appreciate the Power Rangers can continue that way.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of parents were not supportive of kids watching this show because the violence factor. I mean, I don't know. My mom though was really, really, really supportive. Actually, she bought me my first Power Rangers VHS. I never actually watched it much on TV, but I got into it. My twin sister and I got into it when we were 4, and she brought us home a tape because it said Power Rangers for girls. I said, oh, I thought this show was for boys. Oh, hey, it's for girls. I'll get this for the twins. So we got the VHS and we watched it, and immediately my sister and I were hooked. And that was us for the next few years. And then my mom actually kept buying us videos because she loved the show too. But she also had a huge crush on Tommy. I remember one of the other VHSs, it was the episode 2 for 1, where Tommy could really go out on a date. They released it on VHS. She bought it just because she wanted to see them go on a date. It's like, hey girls, I got this video for you. It was so funny. And then I got back into it, actually when it was on Toon Disney and Jetix, and it was, I was watching Dino Thunder, and I saw Tommy came back, and then I saw like they had Power Rangers Generations, which old episodes were airing, and I would watch it again, and I'm like, oh, the nostalgia, I love it. So then I looked it up online, and I've been a super fan ever since. I'm actually on a podcast. I'm on the official podcast of RangerCentral.com. If any of you guys want to check it out, it's called Dan's Toku Rants, because our host is Dan. Go to RangerCentral.com/Dan's Toku Rants, and you can check it out.
And just a real brief personal promotional thing. If you guys find me on Facebook, I have a Zordon page. If you guys just want to hop over there and like that page, and I have a Zordon for President poster there, so if you want to pass that around, go ahead and do that. That would be awesome. I also have my own geek moments from Power Rangers because if you remember the shot of the command center off in the desert, that's the same building that they used to film the trial scene from Star Trek IV Undiscovered Country. So I was like, I'm going to be in the same building with William Shatner. And whenever we would go to the studio to do the voice recording for the episodes, on the floor above us, they were doing voice dubs and retakes for Star Trek The Next Generation. So I would pass Patrick Stewart in the elevator, and we would ride up together and I would get in the car.
My name is Casey, by the way. I keep forgetting to say that. My experience going back and watching Power Rangers was actually slightly different because I always watched it as a kid. I had it on VHS tapes, and then DVD came into existence, so I kind of no longer have a VHS. I still have the tapes, but I can't really watch them because nothing I have is compatible with VHS players anymore.
I have the original Lost Pilot on VHS and cannot watch it.
I am jealous. But so I tried to go back and watch them on YouTube, and it's like they're in bits and pieces and not all from the same uploader. Like they'll have part 1 and 2 and not 3. So it was really hard to rewatch them. So what I ended up doing was I actually got into the original series, the one the Power Rangers is based off of, Kyoto Sentai Zyuranger. And I found subtitles up to episode 26 of that, and I realized it's a lot different. Like I started watching it, and just the entire show is completely separate. It's like, they're these ancient warriors from the dinosaur age, and there's no real Zordon, they're just frozen in time. And I started watching that, and I really started enjoying it. I recognized all the stock footage they used in Power Rangers was in that series, but it was completely different, and suddenly it made a lot more sense. So one day I go on to, my friend calls me, he's like, dude, you're not gonna believe this. And I'm like, what? He's like, Netflix. I'm like, I don't have Netflix, I don't really want to get it. He's like, dude, it's $8 a month on PlayStation, and guess what? I'm like, what? He says, they got Power Rangers. I'm like, okay, I'm buying Netflix.
out about 2 weeks ago. Power Rangers are being released on DVD season sets. Look forward to that.
That was the other thing that upset me. I looked on Amazon, they do not sell Power Rangers that is Region 1 coding. It's all like UK,
Right.
which is bizarre. Those are the only DVDs that existed. So I go back and I'm watching the old episodes on Netflix, finally, for like the first time in 5-10 years, and I'm like, oh my god, this show is really cheesy. Like, okay, here's this episode, but this is what happened in Japan, and this is so much different. They cut this piece out, and like, Tommy's character was a lot different too. Now I realize why Tommy never actually morphed except for the Megazord scenes. Because his character in Japan was all about death. Like, he was the Red Ranger's brother who had turned to the dark side and joined Bandora, who was Rita Repulsa's counterpart, to take revenge on the Red Ranger. And he, like, started fighting him, but he lost all his powers. And the green candle thing was actually because the Green Ranger's powers in Japan, they were dwindling. He was locked in an alternate dimension. If he was stuck in that alternate dimension, he only left to help the Power Rangers. Every time he did, that candle would burn faster. When it finally burned out, he died. So the Green Ranger's character was actually all about death, and that's why Tommy had all these like Deus Ex Machina kind of moments where, like, you know, oh, he's tied to a tree, can't get to his power morpher. Okay, Megazord scene, let's get out there. Or like, you know, he lost his communicator, or he's in an audition. That's why he wasn't there for any of the putty fights or any of the physical fighting scenes, and only the Megazord scenes. Because that's the only time that he would actually come out of the alternate dimension to help the Zoo Rangers. And watching it in the original American version, I'm like, wow, this show is just so different to me now. It's still good to me, I still love it, but it was just a completely different experience going back and rewatching it after all these years.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Super Sentai, the original? How many of you? If you haven't, definitely check it out. It is awesome.